Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Welcome in Thursday edition of After Further Review. Matt Musso filling in for Matt Moscona. Casey Gaines, Paul O'Neill along for the ride. We're with you here for the next 3 hours here on this Thursday. And like yesterday, plenty of football to get to. Plenty to talk about still with the ReliaQuest Bowl, LSU, and Wisconsin. It is game week. Tigers and Badgers will kick that thing off New Year's Day, 11 a.m. The fourth 11 a.m. kickoff of the season for LSU this year, which I know just delights many of you out there, he says with his tongue firmly planted in his cheek. And the Saints, of course, they're heading to Tampa as well on Sunday. They'll face the Buccaneers with their playoff hopes dangling by a thread, and the Buccaneers with the ability to clinch the NFC South and eliminate the Saints from playoff contention with a win of their own. So, again, plenty to get to. Bill Schmid, from up in Milwaukee. He was also part of the Wisconsin Badgers radio network. He'll be here at 4 o'clock. Bill's been on with us a couple different times throughout the year, talking Packers and Wisconsin now. So we'll welcome him back on at 4 o'clock. And then Mike Triplett, of course, in his weekly spot at 5:15 to talk about the Saints and the Buccaneers. I want to start today with LSU football and I guess kind of really the elephant in the room whenever it comes to the bowl game, and that's going to be Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback for LSU. And it's a good elephant in the room, obviously. I mean, let's make that perfectly clear. It's just, it is the main source of intrigue when you talk about this football game. Yes, there's the ability, the opportunity for LSU to get to 10 wins, and that is valuable 100%. We can talk about that a little bit later on today. We can talk about that tomorrow. That is absolutely a goal and something of value in this game. LSU appears to have tremendous buy-in in this football game with the amount of star players that are playing in it, which you don't see a lot in bowl games, obviously, in today's college football. Just look at the other side of the field on the other sideline at Wisconsin. They have opt-outs, key player on defense and on offense. But the main source of intrigue is Garrett Nussmeier getting his first start at LSU. And with that is going to come great expectation because of what it could potentially lead to. And that's the Garrett Nussmeier era, him taking over, being the heir apparent like everyone has thought he would be throughout this year when he decided to come back, and Jaden Daniels followed Jaden Daniels back to LSU for the 2023 season. So when I sat down today to kind of look at that and what to expect and what's fair, I guess, to expect, that's the question I ran into. What's fair to expect? Because I know every one of us has crafted an opinion on Garrett Nussmeier. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what's going to happen. And there's been those who were very staunch in Nussmeier's corner. There's been those who, I guess, I don't really want to say weren't. I don't really know if there was anybody that wasn't. And there was, but maybe they existed. And then kind of okay, wait and see. He's in that backup role type thing. There's different sides of the coin to this. So, again, when I wanted to see, okay, what's going to be fair expectations? Well, one of the first questions I asked myself off of that question is, what do we know about Garrett Nussmeier that has helped us form these opinions that we have about him? And when you sit down and you look at it, if you're really being honest with yourself, the answer to that is not much. We don't know that much about Garrett Nussmeier. We know what we think. We know what we think we know. We know what has led us to form these opinions, but It's not that deep. You can go look at the stat sheet of his career and say, oh, Garrett Nussmeier's played in 17 games so far in his career at LSU. And that's an accurate number. But if we want to be fair, I mean, when you've actually seen him, 3. The Arkansas game in 2021, which was, the way that was handled was poor from the start. I mean, and we'll get into it, but if you don't remember, Max Johnson was the starting quarterback for LSU. It wasn't going well. People are wondering, okay, when do you give Nuss the shot to start? Well, he didn't start that game. Max Johnson played 2 series, then was pulled. Nussmeier went in. Apparently that was the plan the whole time. And Nuss played the whole game. LSU lost in overtime. He threw a couple of interceptions. It was a horrible spot to put the guy in. He wasn't ready. And it was a pivotal SEC game for LSU at that in that juncture to boot. And that's just not necessarily a fair sample size really to base an opinion off of him there. But that's one of the largest sample sizes that you do actually have. The SEC championship game against Georgia, he played the entire second half. But again, LSU was down 25 points, and Jaden Daniels was hurt when he came into that game. Had a couple nice touchdown passes, had the interception wedged in between them. Ultimately, LSU lost by 20. Really tough spot to ask him to go into. But he played well. The bowl game last year, can we count that? He split time with Daniels, but he only played 4 series because Purdue was so depleted. LSU was just routing them, and then Walker Howard went into the game. But again, touchdown drives, an interception sandwiched in between. And then really the only other one I'd kind of be willing to throw into that category is the Alabama game from this year. And once again, impossible situation really to ask him to go into. And I think that showed in the play that he had. So there's not that large sample size. But what is going to be expected of Garrett Nussmeier is going to be large in this game. And I don't think that's fair. Because there's been so much talk, right, about LSU getting a quarterback out of the portal. And ultimately they did with A.J. Swan from Vanderbilt. And he'll provide great experience and somebody to push, in spring practice and things of that nature. But there was so much around that. And the main pushback was it's Garrett's turn. Give him the go. Again, similar to a Miles Brennan situation, right? Similar, not the same. And because of that, I think so many might look at this game as, all right, we're going to find out everything we need to know about Garrett Nussmeier. And that's not fair. It's also not true. Whatever Garrett Nussmeier does in this game on Monday isn't the be-all, end-all for him to be the starting quarterback at LSU in the future. Good, bad, or indifferent. If Garrett Nussmeier goes out there and does what the cat from USC did last night and throws 6 touchdowns and looks incredible, awesome. I think we'd all welcome that. I know I would. That's what I'm hoping happens. But even if that is the case, that doesn't just solidify him, in my mind, as, okay, spring practice doesn't matter anymore. Garrett Nussmeier's your starting quarterback going forward. Go with it. Same set if he goes out there, struggles, throws 3 interceptions, LSU loses the football game. That's not the be-all, end-all to say, okay, that's it. Spring doesn't matter. Garrett's not the guy going forward. So what is fair to expect from Garrett Nussmeier on Monday? I have 3 things that I want to see. Number 1 is going to be his start. Because this is a moment that he's waited for a very long time. And he has put in a lot of work to get to this moment. And he deserves this moment. But when you look at the moment itself, it's huge. You could say, how? It's just the ReliaQuest Bowl. I understand. But he's taking over for the Heisman Trophy winner who quarterbacked the best offense in college football this year. And outside of 2019, the second best offense we've ever seen at LSU. He's sliding into that. He's going to do it without the regular offensive coordinator because Mike Denbrock's off to South Bend for the third time in his career. And he's going to do it surrounded by a lot of stars with an opportunity for LSU to get to back-to-back 10-win seasons. He's going to want to go out there and make plays immediately from the jump. And he should. Anybody would. Again, that's human nature. But will he press? How does LSU ease him into the game? Whether it be Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton calling plays, don't know. But I want to see his start. Can he stay within himself? Can he stay within that moment, not let it get too big, and maybe not press early in that football game? Number 2, turnovers, but not in the way that you're thinking. In the same way that I don't think it's fair to say this game determines Nussmeier's future role at LSU, I don't think it would be fair to ask him to go out there and be perfect and not throw an interception in this game. So that's not what I'm looking for. Can he prevent the catastrophic mistake in this football game? That's how you'll really be able to see his decision making, right? If this is a close game or LSU's even, he's driving to go potentially ice it. LSU's up by a field goal. You go take a 10-point lead late. Can he execute that drive, not throw the interception that potentially swings the momentum for Wisconsin? How does the decision-making look? That is more of what I'm interested in. If Garrett Nussmeier goes out there and throws an interception, who cares? Not all of them are created equal. Can he just avoid the catastrophic mistake in that spot? And third is leadership. Because every single time, whether it be Brian Kelly, whether it be his teammates, the first word out of everybody's mouth when talking about Garrett Nussmeier has been leadership and that he's a great leader. I want to see that on display. So much was made about Jaden Daniels this year and how he kind of grew into that leadership role. They're different guys. Nuss might be a little bit more vocal. But again, Kelly and the players have all talked about leadership, a presence that Nussmeier has. I want to see that on display. Can he command the huddle? If LSU is down late in this game, can he rally the team? How do they respond to him in order for them to go make the plays they need to win the football game? That's going to tell you so much more than just if he goes out there and throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that will give you the first inclination into, okay, is this the guy for the future? Is it going in the direction that a lot of us think it can with him taking the next step? That's what this game is for. It's your introduction to Garrett Nussmeier. It's not the be-all, end-all of his role and his future at LSU. So for me, that's the fair expectation. The first step, get off to the good start, protect the ball in the sense of not making the catastrophic mistake, and put that leadership that we've heard so much about on display. He'll get his chance Monday, 11 a.m., LSU and Wisconsin, Reliant West Bowl, Tampa, Florida. Of course, we'll have it for you here, Eagle 98.1, our sister station, and we'll have it just treated like a regular game day. Hanny and I will kick it off pregame show. You'll have Hanny and Richard Dixon for the postgame show. Whiskey and wine will be wedged in the middle of those, and the game, of course, as well. So it'll just be a normal game day for us here on the station, not a regular day of shows, and we'll see if LSU can get to win number 10 and if Garrett Nussmeier can take that step forward that all of us have been waiting to see. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, get you a look at the Saints-Bucks latest injury report as they prepare to do battle with the NFC South on the line this Sunday. The Pro Football Hall of Fame finalists have been announced, and there are a couple of guys with Saints ties that we'll touch on there. Bill Schmid still to come, as well as Mike Triplett. It's Thursday's edition of AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Musso filling in for Moscona. We're back with more after this.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 beautiful hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown right there on Bluebonnet. And when it comes to hosting your event, both the Watermark and the Renaissance are perfect. The Watermark is a gorgeous, elegant spot in downtown Baton Rouge. That wedding reception, that smaller gathering, that meeting space, they can do it. They've kept so much of the history and tradition of that iconic building while modernizing it. The Gregory is a great restaurant inside of the Watermark as well. And then, of course, the Renaissance Hotel, Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. It's more modern. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel property at the Renaissance Hotel where they have meeting space that can accommodate up to 500 people, 7,000 square foot of meeting space, perfectly located right off of Bluebonnet and I-10. It's the Watermark and the Renaissance Hotels in Baton Rouge.
Thank you, Acadiana, for over 56 years of allowing Corvell Toyota in Opelousas to take care of you and your automotive needs. Enjoy this holiday season with family and friends. From the Corvell Toyota family to yours, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Baton Rouge. New customers, remember they're an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, make a $5 bet, get $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's for betting just $5 on basketball, win or lose. New customers this week at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable with 24/7 support. Deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. I even use Venmo whenever I'm withdrawing or depositing cash at the DraftKings Sportsbook. It's so easy, all the different options that you have. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. New customers, make a $5 NBA bet. Get $150 in bonus bets instantly, win or lose. You got NFL this weekend, of course. You can use the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Licensing partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537.
All right, back here after further reviews on a Thursday. Musso filling in for Moscona. Get you a look at the latest injury report for Saints and Bucs here. as we move along throughout the first hour of the show. And there's some improvement for the New Orleans Saints. There's also a new name on the list for the Buccaneers. So we'll start with the home team, the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, look, the big story yesterday was Jordan Howden not being at practice because you don't have Marcus May, and Lonnie Johnson, for what it's worth, was also not at practice. He looked like you were going to be very, very thin there at safety. Howden, of course, the big name because he's been the one filling in for Marcus May and has done a very nice job on multiple occasions this season. It was an illness, so you breathed a sigh of relief, obviously, yesterday when the injury report came out, and you saw that non-injury related, just illness. It's December 28th. Illness goes around this time of year. You breathe an even bigger sigh of relief when the injury report comes back out today and you see that Jordan Howden was back at practice in a limited capacity, but back at practice. And that's huge. Now, obviously, Lonnie Johnson, also at the safety position, didn't practice again today, but not a but. So you look at that and say, okay, well, your numbers might still be a little thin there going into this game, but at least you have Jordan Howden. He's back on track to play Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The other one you're keeping an eye on is Ryan Ramczyk. And Ramczyk, again, did not practice today with a knee. Now, you have tomorrow and whatnot to get through, but kind of rule of thumb, Thursday, no practice. That's kind of the first time you start really thinking, probably not going to see that guy. So Landon Young, of course, started the last two games on the offensive line for the New Orleans Saints. You would imagine that's going to be your replacement there if Ryan Ramczyk can't go. Young, 38 games so far in his career. This is his third year in the league in 6 starts, like I said, including the last 2 weeks. So you'd feel a little bit better there, just with the familiarity, I guess you could say, with him being in there the last 2 weeks. But it's been an adventure for the New Orleans Saints along the offensive line this season. It's been an adventure for them really on offense in general, but particularly on that line where they got off to such a slow start, really started to play better throughout the middle of the year, and now just the inconsistency kind of has returned, and a shuffling lineup has been part of that. I mean, look, you wanted Trevor Penning to really step up and be that guy that you drafted him to be, which is a franchise left tackle. That just hasn't happened. You've had to kick Andrews Pete there, and for the most part, look, I think he hadn't played tackle in the league since 2018, and I mean, he's played well there, but again, injuries kind of just throughout on that line have caused a shuffle, Ramczyk being the latest. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. No change with anybody else. Isaiah Foskey, again, limited. Cameron Jordan, again, limited, which good sign. You just expect Cam's workload to kind of steadily increase as he continues to deal with that ankle. Eric McCoy, limited again, so it looks like you'll have your center, which we know is important. Kendre Miller, limited. Chris Olave, limited. And Peyton Turner, again, who's still on IR, but returned to practice, limited with the toe injury. For the Buccaneers, the one addition is kind of a tease in a sense. It's one of those names that you look at and it immediately jumps off and you're, whoa. And then you just look at the reason and you're like, never mind. That's Chris Godwin. Pops up on the Bucs injury report with a knee and a rest day. So I would imagine, look, with him practicing yesterday, popping up, and then designating rest as part of it, I wouldn't expect it to go much further than that. We will see. Obviously something to keep an eye on, but he was out there yesterday, just not today. That's obviously significant. We talked about Mike Evans yesterday in the season that he's having for Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin, right behind him, has been really, really, really good. And Godwin actually is the one who actually hurt the Saints more in the first meeting between the two teams this year. If you look at Chris Godwin, he's at 892 yards receiving, so knocking on the door of 1,000-yard season, which would give the Bucs 2 receivers. But again, going back to the first game between the two teams, and again, like I said, it was Godwin who was the leading receiver for Tampa Bay that day with 11 catches for 114 yards against New Orleans. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But tomorrow will really be the telltale. Is it more of the knee injury that held him out of practice today, or is it more of just a little bit of a rest day for a veteran? The other 3 DNPs, Shaq Barrett, again with the groin 2 days in a row. He was not out there, so file that away. Carlton Davis still in the concussion protocol in that secondary for Tampa Bay, which has been oft injured throughout the year. He did not practice for a second day as well. Neither did Kokeeft. So that was a shoulder injury that kept the tight end out, and he did not practice. So same thing we kind of said with Ramczyk and Lonnie Johnson Thursday. Keep an eye on those two guys, and, well, potentially you won't have them. The one that really stands out there to me, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, is Carlton Davis. Just because the Saints, if they're going to be able to attack somewhere, you would hope it's with the receiving core that they have with Schmid back. I mean, look at the game on Thursday night. You had the big over the top shot to him. So that type of thing can change a game if it happens at the right time. So that's one to really look at. I mean, Shaq Barrett, the Bucs are set up still pretty solidly at linebacker. And then Raheem Jarrett, full participant for the second day in a row with the quad, as was Mike Green. Although, again, both of those players currently on IR, but at practice. So we'll see how that goes. That gets you completely up to date on the Saints and the Bucs injury report day 2. And we'll have much more coverage of that game throughout the day and, of course, throughout the weekend. Mike Triplett will be with us at 5:15. Interested to get Mike's thoughts on a lot of things, man, because when you look at it, and I know we talked about it a lot yesterday. It's tough to be positive right now when talking about the New Orleans Saints, and it's even harder this week because their back is so firmly pressed up against the wall, where they're facing a team on the road that has won the division 2 years in a row now, looking for number 3, and has kind of supplanted the Saints as that team to beat in the NFC South. And that team just happens to be playing their best football. So it is hard. It's hard to look at it in any other way other than kind of pessimistic. But they'll go out there and they'll kick it off. They'll play the game, and we'll see if the Saints can come out swinging with their backs against the wall. And we'll ask Mike Triplett just how they do that, which matchups he's looking forward to, and how do you handle a Saints-Bucs game that doesn't feature Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans? That's an interesting thing. Obviously, kind of jokingly there, but as mentioned yesterday as well, that's the matchup I actually think the biggest in this game is who's going to guard Mike Evans. But just because of the history between those guys, you kind of look at it and go, oh man, it's weird not seeing them battle it out. All right, we're going to grab a break here on the other side. Halfway through first hour of the show, we'll talk around the SEC as rosters are starting to kind of shape up for bowl games throughout the conference. A couple opt-outs, a couple opt-ins around the league to talk about as well. And then the NFL, they did it again. Just put out jaw-dropping rating numbers, this time on Christmas and this time at the expense of the NBA. We'll talk about that and why you shouldn't expect it again next year. That's a little bit that's coming up in the next segment as well. Bill Schmid still to come at the top of next hour to preview the Wisconsin Badgers, LSU's opponent in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Grab a break, come back on the other side with more AFR after this.
AFR.
Love telling you about ProCharge EV. ProChargeEV.com, electric vehicle chargers for your home or your commercial building. ProChargeEV.com. ProCharge is a local company. They're right here in Baton Rouge. And they're a distributor for NLX, which is actually an Italian company, the number one electric vehicle charger in the world. So you're dealing with a local company that's also partnered with the number one EV charging company in the world. It's ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. Go to the website, scroll down. You see the form you can fill out to get more information. But the bottom line is this, y'all. If you own a business, a commercial building, you got to have EV chargers. I told you a story. There's a medical group in town that called ProCharge, and they installed a bunch of EV chargers at their clinic because a handful of their doctors all drive Teslas. So they need EV chargers. Well, here you go. Amenity for your employees, amenity for your customers, a revenue generator. Tap to pay options are available. It's ProCharge. ProChargeEV.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
AFR is brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and southpointvw.com. As we put a button here in hour number 2, I love telling you about South Point Volkswagen, especially this time of year, because Sign Then Drive is going on. Sign Then Drive is the single best sale that they have all year over at South Point Volkswagen. It is easy. 0 down, 0 due at signing, no first month's payment, no security deposit. You sign your name and you drive away in a brand new vehicle from South Point Volkswagen. With Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer, you have the greatest selection as well. If it's the Atlas, the 3-row 7-seater family SUV, the Cross Sport, which is what I drive, it's basically the Atlas that takes out the 3rd row. The Taos, which is the fun-sized SUV. You can test drive one today. All of the different models they've got in there at South Point Volkswagen. The Tiguan, the ID4. Check it out today at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland or online at southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?
Back here on a Thursday edition of After Further Review. Musso in for Moscona. We all know that the NFL's king. And that's just put on display time and time again. And television ratings are really the source of how we measure that. And in looking at sports and being fans of sports, which by virtue of you listening to the show, you are, we're all familiar with blowouts. And we've all heard the saying that, they're inevitable, right? Blowouts are going to happen. And I think people have certain different opinions kind of on them. I'll give you my opinion on blowouts. They're not my favorite thing in the world, but man, sometimes you just can't look away from it. Sometimes it's just so great that it manages to keep your attention. And a lot of the times, and again, those are history making. They're on a big stage. Maybe they involve your favorite team. Like one blowout that I always remember is Saints-Colts in 2011 when they beat them 62-7. That's an example of that. But of course, there's other ones throughout history that just still stick in everybody's mind. And it doesn't have to be football. I mean, it can be really any sport. I mean, to take it really to one end of the spectrum, I mean, horse racing, Secretariat, 31 lengths. That's a blowout that everybody remembers. Jordan's Bulls just dismantling the Utah Jazz in the finals in 1 year. Football can exist, but those are big stages. The Seahawks over the Broncos in the Super Bowl. What was that, like 44-8 or something? You remember it. And in all of those, you really couldn't look away, right? Because it was just so great. That happened on Christmas Day with the television ratings between the NFL and the NBA. Where, again, it's not a surprise that the NFL dominated, but you just kind of can't look away. Not just from watching the games, but from the numbers that came out. There were 5 NBA games, 3 NFL games. The highest rated NBA game was Lakers-Celtics at averaged 5 million viewers. For what it's worth, that is an 18% drop from last year's Bucs-Celtics game, which was the highest rated on the last Christmas Day. 18% drop, 5 million viewers. The highest rated NFL game was Raiders-Chiefs, which averaged 29.2 million. That is a blowout of epic proportion. To demonstrate even further, if you add up the rating, the average viewers of each of the 5 NBA games, it comes out to 14.1 million viewers combined. It doesn't even touch one of those NFL games. 29.2 million Raiders-Chiefs, 29 million Giants-Eagles, 27.2 million Ravens-Niners. Thanks to Front Office Sports for the numbers. Blowout of epic proportions. That you can combine all 5 NBA games. And it doesn't even sniff. It's doubled up by any of the 3 NFL games. It is a stranglehold that league has on all of us. And it creates a blowout of epic proportion. Now, the interesting part in this is the second year in a row they've gone head up. It's the second year in a row the NFL's just slaughtered the NBA. And the NFL, with Christmas falling on a Wednesday next year in 2024, has announced that they won't stage games on Christmas Day. So the NBA will get their standalone day like they've had, and it's what led to the joke that the NBA should start on Christmas. My question is, what the hell is the NFL doing? Why would you do that? You don't have to play nice. Why would you give up that exposure on a standalone day where there aren't many viewing options? It's what you have on Thanksgiving. You've had no problem, stealing the NBA's lunch money, so to speak, the last 2 years. Why stop now? And I guess the counter to that is, well, the NFL doesn't matter what day of the week or what day on the calendar or holiday or anything that they play on. We're all going to sit there with our eyes glued to the television. And that is true. But that's one of those days where you can just grab so many more eyes. So add that to the list of memorable blowouts. The NFL versus the NBA on Christmas Day 2023, where they doubled up all 5 games combined. All right, we're going to go ahead and do what we do about every time this day. We're going to go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Nick Saban, when he met with the media yesterday, announced that offensive lineman Elijah Pritchett is still with the team. This comes after Pritchett was arrested last week in Tuscaloosa for knowingly spreading a sexually transmitted disease. Saban says, quote, "We're handling his circumstance internally, and that's all I can really comment about. His status on the team has not been affected to this point." Pritchett is in his second year and is a former 5-star prospect. He's appeared in 15 games at offensive tackle, rotating in at the left tackle position, and very notably competed with Caden Proctor this season for playing time. Proctor eventually won that job.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss edge defender Cedric Johnson has opted out of the Peach Bowl. Johnson, a senior, played in 12 games for the Rebs this season, finished tied for the team lead with 5.5 sacks during the regular season and has 19 over his 4-year career. He recently accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl and will begin his prep for the 2024 NFL Draft. Lane Kiffin confirmed Johnson's decision to opt out when he met with the media, and also noted, through his support behind. This is kind of a historic opt-out for Ole Miss, as it is the Rebels' first bowl opt-out in 3 years. Yeah, you heard that right.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia got good news when it comes to the Orange Bowl. Thank goodness, because that game just looks miserable from a who's going to play in it standpoint. But Ladd McConkey, wide receiver from Georgia, he's going to play. Of course, you know the name. One of their best receiving targets. Confirmed that when he met with the media yesterday, quote, "I told them from the get-go, if I can get out there, if I have a chance to play, I'm going to play." McConkey, that's probably music to the ears of Carson Beck, because Brock Bowers' status still up in the air. But number 84 in red and black, he'll be out there for the Dogs.
The Auburn Tigers.
And Auburn cornerback Tony Hunley Jr. has entered the NCAA transfer portal. That report comes courtesy of On3. Hunley did not see any action since transferring to Auburn in 2022. He started his career in Arkansas Pine Bluff. Probably a good idea to seek greener pastures there, sir. Auburn has now lost 12 players to the portal so far in this cycle. They have gained 2 out of the transfer portal. They will face off against Maryland in the Music City Bowl. That is around the SEC. It's brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solution. We are set here to grab a break, but man, I hope you haven't had to go to work today. Maybe you've taken off. You're still enjoying the holidays there and the days in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. You were treated to currently being treated to a really solid slate of bowl action. Rutgers in Miami in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, which is just one of the top tier bowl names in the country, and there's a lot of them. But that's definitely up there. Played in Yankee Stadium, and Rutgers 21-17, a tightly contested game. Greg Schiano looking to get 7 wins there at Rutgers in Miami. Man, just what a fall for them. But really solid game. And how about tonight's action? You have a pair of ranked-on-ranked matchups. Of course, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, speaking of great names. And by the way, did you see the trophy? Because we talked about that here, that it was going to be like one of the first edible trophies and what that was going to look like. I'll be honest that the edible part of it kind of let me down a little bit. I was really just hoping the entire thing would be made out of Pop-Tarts. But they turned the football on the top of it into a toaster, and it's got 2 Pop-Tarts sticking out of it. It's still fantastic. That's NC State and Kansas State. Number 18, Wolfpack. Number 25, Wildcats. So you got a ranked-on-ranked matchup. That's going to get underway here in about an hour's time, 4:45 Central. And then the Valero Alamo Bowl tonight. Arizona, 14th in the country. Oklahoma, 12th in the country. Get a look at the Sooners before they enter the SEC next season. And, of course, we'll get Otter's thoughts on that game. Then you have Thursday night football tonight with the Jets and the Browns. So really great action. But, man, this is when bowl season's fun to begin with. This is when it really heats up, though, right? After Christmas, you get into those ranked-on-ranked matchups. And, again, three games, Power 5 matchups today in the bowls. We'll get Otter's take on that. A 1-1 night for the Otter last night. We lost with Louisville, but we hit with Oklahoma State, which, man, Texas A&M last night in that too competed really well, considering they had about 53, 55 scholarship players, but they also lost their starting quarterback on the first play of the game, which means they were down to their fourth team starting quarterback in that one. So that's the other side of bowl season, right? Where it looks like you got, man, these great 3 Power 5 matchups, 2 ranked unranked matchups. That's the greatness, the Pop-Tarts Bowl trophy. That's the greatness. And then, A&M ended up on a fourth string quarterback, one play into a game where they only had 50 scholarship players. That's the other side. But, hey, if you played along with the Otter, you won money on it. So you can't really complain too much. We'll get more picks from Jimmy to close out the show. Otter Locks still to come. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. This is After Further Review on a Thursday. Musso in for Moscona.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local for more than 60 years. Clegg's, look, we've turned the page from Christmas, although you might get lucky because a lot of the Christmas decor that could be out is discounted, and I would need to get into the store to see how much is left, but it's one of those things where you could buy at the end of the season and then just store it in your attic, so you get a deep discount on a lot of great decor for next Christmas at Clegg's Nursery. But, y'all, this is the time of year, man. We are into the winter months. This is the time to plant trees. Those fruit trees, those citrus trees. It's a great time to get by Clegg's, pick up trees or shrubs. This is planting season right now at Clegg's Nursery. So get to any of the 4 locations: Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, the Mid-City location on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs for more than 60 years. Buy local, shop local. Be sure to tell them that Matt sent you in when you go see our friends today at Clegg's Nursery.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona. Presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Final segment here, hour number 1, Thursday AFR. The Pro Football Hall of Fame yesterday evening announced their 15 finalists for the class of 2024. I have thoughts on a few of them, and there are a couple with Saints ties, most notably Jari Evans, who we'll really touch on here momentarily. But for what it's worth, this is how this is how they'll continue to whittle down the finalists. If you're interested, the 15 finalists that they announced yesterday evening will be trimmed to 10 and then to 5 during a selection meeting early next year. The final 5 candidates, they will need to receive 80% of the votes from the panel to officially get into the Hall of Fame. And the class of 2024 will be announced at the NFL Honor Show in Las Vegas on February the 8th, when the AP Season Awards for 23 are also announced, like MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, all of that. So this is just the first step in being a finalist. You still got to get it down to 5, and that'll take place over the next few weeks and months before the announcement on February 8th of who's getting in to the class. Now, mentioned Jari Evans, former Saints offensive lineman, Saints Hall of Famer, is one of 15 finalists, and very well deserved. You hope it happens for Jari Evans this year. 11 years with the Saints at right guard, including Super Bowl year. 5 playoff teams. 6 straight Pro Bowl honors. Also, want to make sure I have it right. Yes, 4 All-Pros. He was just the stalwart. And now is a member of the Saints coaching staff. He's an offensive assistant on the current staff. And I can't decide if I think this is a good sign for Jari Evans this year or not. So this is only his second year of eligibility. And when we talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there's always, and look at the LSU guys, right? Kevin Y. You knew it was coming. It's just one of those things where he had to wait his turn. I use him because it's a local example. Jari Evans kind of fits into that mold, right? It's going to happen for him. He's going to get in. How long will he have to wait? And I'm actually kind of encouraged because this is only his second year of eligibility, and he's already reached that finalist stage. Now, we will see if he can progress through that when we go through the list here momentarily of some others. Maybe it won't, but because there's 2 on here that I think absolutely are going to make it, which will only leave 3 other spots. But perhaps he doesn't have to wait. Maybe his wait won't be as long as we've seen it be for others, just because he's already made finalist in his second year of eligibility. Now, 2 of those guys who I think are going to absolutely get in are Julius Peppers and Antonio Gates. And that's because, I mean, this is their first year on the ballot. They're both finalists. And when you go through it, if there's 2 guys who you think, okay, first ballot Hall of Famers, it's definitely Julius Peppers and Antonio Gates. Peppers, Saints fans became very, very well acquainted with, unfortunately, and the Saints in general, unfortunately, very well acquainted with him with his time in Carolina. But that's a guy who finished top 4 in the NFL history in sacks when his playing career was done, and that was after. Again, I want to make sure I have that right. Yes, 17 years in the NFL. So again, 3 All-Pros there. If there's a guy first ballot, yeah, makes a lot of sense for Julius Peppers to be that. Antonio Gates is the same way, where you look at him who and how one of the greatest, coolest things about him, didn't play football in college at all. When he went undrafted out of college in basketball, that's when he switched to football. Ended up having a 16-year career, all pros, including his first and his second year in the league. most touchdown receptions in the history of the NFL by a tight end. Like those things, yeah, first ballot. And they've blown through the selection process already and kind of gotten there. So I would expect them to get in, and that leaves 3 spots and 13 guys fighting for those 3 spots. Jari Evans, one of them. Also, should be noted that I lost it. Yep. Don't have it. Oh well. Jari Evans. Hopefully he gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's an honor that he deserves. And look, Saints have kind of molded what they're looking for an offensive lineman out of that small school guy, mid-round. He turned out nicely. Best of luck to Jari Evans. All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. Get our final preview from the other side of from the other sideline. LSU-Wisconsin. Bill Schmid joins the show next.
AFR.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires, the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills. Let them give it the once-over. And you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour number 2 of AFR off and running. Musso filling in for Moscona. Scone's back next week, enjoying some needed R&R here after a long 2023. 1 hour in the books, a couple more to go. Bill Schmid from 97.3 The Game up in Milwaukee and the Wisconsin Radio Network, Sports Radio Network, I should say, going to join us here momentarily. Mickey Loomis got some news on the Saints GM in the next segment as he scoffed at another question, and it hasn't been met with his response hasn't been met with great fanfare. Not much has been met with great fanfare with the Saints. So we'll talk about that coming up shortly. And Mike Triplett, speaking of Saints, will join the show at 5:15 to preview the matchup with the Buccaneers. But right now, we welcome on Bill Schmid. Bill's kind of become a friend of the show here. We've had him on to talk Packers. We've had him on to talk Wisconsin, and he joins us one more time to talk Badgers ahead of the ReliaQuest Bowl. Bill, we appreciate the time. How are you?
Matt, I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me on as always.
Happy New Year indeed. And look, we'll get it started on New Year's Day with LSU and Wisconsin. So I know last time we had you on, we talked a little bit, kind of about the bowl destination and what it might look like. Now we have more information. We know players on each side who aren't going to play, who are going to play. So focusing a little bit more on the game here. Let's start with Wisconsin's bowl prep. How has that process gone for the Badgers since the game was announced?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think the biggest part for the Badgers is that they are still in the midst of a transition, right? They're transitioning offenses and defenses. So while bowl prep is on full go and everybody in that building is trying to gear towards getting a win, Badgers take bowl games extremely seriously. They boast right now the best bowl record, or not bowl record, pardon me, longest bowl streak in the Big Ten. And it's something that I know the University of Wisconsin really is extremely proud of, and they take these very seriously. That being said, they are full-fledged right now in their pursuit of transfer portal grabs. They just grabbed an inside linebacker from UNC. They've grabbed a couple of different linebackers, a couple of outside linebackers, and what they're really trying to do is reshape that defense. There's only going to be one main guy in the interior of that defense, Jack Chaney, who's going to be playing in this game coming up this weekend. However, Mumajong Mehta graduates. He might play this weekend, but then Jordan Turner also gone in the transfer portal to Michigan State. So they knew that they were going to have a little bit of a transition. Right now, they're still in the midst of trying to build for 24 while still being quarterbacked by Tanner Mordecai, who's a sixth-year senior transfer in. I kind of thought maybe they would go Braden Locke. Instead, they're going to go Mordecai. He's been the leader of the team, and the big loss that they'll have on the offensive side of the ball is Braylon Allen, who decided that he is going to go off to the NFL and potentially be a day 2, day 3 pick there. So they've had some losses, no doubt about it. However, if Wisconsin tradition holds serve, they've been taking these 15 practices extremely seriously as they're down there in Tampa right now.
Okay, so you mentioned Mordecai, you mentioned transition, and obviously Braylon Allen not playing. Wisconsin's going to want to run the football. It looks like that's going to obviously, kind of put the onus on Tanner Mordecai to take that next step. Sixth-year guy, like you said, very veteran. What have you made of his season to this point? I know there's been some injuries in there, but it came really highly talented out of SMU there.
It's been pretty impressive to watch what Mordecai has done on the ground. I don't think anybody anticipated, just when you look at the sticker shock of the numbers, 70-plus touchdowns in his time starting at SMU. His numbers through the air were remarkable, but he's really, really elusive with his feet and a smart runner with the football. Figures out ways that he knows he might be maybe a little bit limited athletically, but it's not like you're looking at a slow dude. He's quick enough to run away from people and not take huge shots. The injury that you alluded to was a broken thumb, and he was unable to grip a football for 3 weeks. But, Matt, this is the interesting part about it in the transition and why I say it's pretty clear he's the leader of that team, even only being on campus for a full year. When you are a grad transfer and you've only been on campus for 8 months, it's pretty easy for the team to move on and go and start the guy that's going to potentially be there for another 3 years. Try to build on some success that Braden Locke had as the starter. They were pretty quick to go back to Mordecai. And Luke Fickell has talked about it a number of times of his toughness. He came to Wisconsin wanting to better his draft stock. He went in last year, I believe, anticipating to go to the league and didn't get the results from the scouts that he was expecting. Didn't get the feedback from NFL scouts that he was expecting to get, believing that he could be, a selection in the draft. Didn't get that validation. So he came back to Wisconsin, went to prove that he could do it in a big conference, was kind of robbed of it, didn't get to play in their biggest games, gets hurt against Iowa in a game that they absolutely had a chance to win, and misses the Ohio State game, which I know he had circled, in a game that ultimately was kind of winnable for Wisconsin. They let it get away, and the final score later looked a little bit less competitive than it was, but that was a battle into the fourth quarter. So he has had a season that many would be okay with. However, in year one, all the expectations, a very philosophical shift here in Wisconsin with the amount they're throwing the ball, running a spread offense. That's very different. People went into it ready to complain, and Tanner Mordecai, I think, unfairly for some of it, right, Matt? People want to bitch. Let's be honest. That's one of their favorite things. National pastime. He caught a little bit of that flack, but I think unfairly so for a bit of it.
What is the confidence level you think the coaching staff has in him that he can go out there and command the offense and move the ball against an LSU defense that, Bill, let's be quite honest, they have struggled all year?
I'll be honest with you. I think they're pretty confident in Mordecai, absolutely. So I don't know how confident they are in the others in that room. Braden Locke, I mentioned, then they lose Miles Burkett, who was an in-state kid, but maybe a little small, maybe wasn't slated to get some action on the field in real time. I think on the outside is where the Badgers might be a little limited, right? We mentioned Braylon Allen going to the NFL, but Chimere Dike has been their leading receiver each of the last 2 years. He transfers to Florida, so you guys will get to see him down there with Graham Mertz next year. And Skylar Bell, also a somewhat productive receiver for him this year, transfers out. But they got a lot of talent there. Quincy Burrows is a name that I imagine you'll see. Bryson Green is a name that I imagine you'll see. And C.J. Williams was a transfer, former four-star kid from USC that people were extremely excited about here in Wisconsin. Results may be a little underwhelming. I would anticipate to see four have a pretty decent workload coming up this weekend.
How do they replace Braylon Allen at the running back position in this game, or can they?
It's a great question, Matt. I'll say this. Braylon Allen, again, extremely productive, but to say that they would be unable to replace his value would just be a discredit and a disservice to what the Badgers program has done for the last 20-some years. I mean, they have brought in backs who are extremely productive year in and year out. Now, they have a couple of guys who are slated to come in as high school recruits next year, and I think they'll play big for them. But Cade Yakimelli will be a name that you hear. Jackson Aker is a thicker former fullback turned tailback. He'll get a larger workload. But I do believe that it's going to be mostly through the air. And that's where, as much as Braylon did get a really good amount of run later into the season, when the weather got cold up here in the north, they did turn to zero quite a bit. They had to have. They won't have that, especially around the goal line. But I anticipate to see the ball through the air just a little bit more coming up on Monday.
Talking with Bill Schmid. He's on Twitter at Bill Schmid Radio, 97.3 The Game up in Milwaukee, and part of the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network as well. We're getting a preview of the ReliaQuest Bowl, LSU and the Badgers. Let's flip sides of the ball, and you mentioned kind of the interior of the defense there. Now, look, here's the thing. They catch a break. They don't have to face Jaden Daniels, but they do have to face just about everybody else on the LSU offense that ranked number one in the country this year. No offensive coordinator for LSU as well, though, as Mike Denbrock's off to Notre Dame. So how have you seen that matchup maybe kind of shift with the Wisconsin defense versus the LSU offense, given no Jaden Daniels and a change in leadership at the coordinator position for the Tigers?
I'll be completely honest with you, Matt. I don't think anybody listened or cared once they found out that Jaden Daniels was going to the NFL. It was like an immediate celebration of, holy cow, there's a chance. They didn't anticipate believing that, like you mentioned, pretty much every other piece of that number one ranked offense is going to be on the field. And I think everybody was feeling a little bit better before they watched last night Miller Moss go on out here and throw 6 touchdowns in reserve for Caleb Williams. There is a remarkable amount of respect for LSU up here and what that program is, what it's been, and the type of players they bring in. So I think Badger fans and the team alike understands that you don't get a scholarship offer to play at LSU without being a serious talent at that position. So while Jaden Daniels not playing is a massive break, everybody's excited to know that. There is some fear as to what an unscouted look of a backup quarterback could be. And you know what? This is the other part of it, Matt, and I think we're really learning this about the bowl season now, is it is a opportunity for guys that have not been on the field significant time throughout the year, especially with the amount of guys that are jumping in the portal, the amount of starters who otherwise would be returning and would be taking those snaps in the bowl game. There's some guys that would not be on the field at a lot of different institutions. And I think many looking at it, I think many in the betting line will look at it and say, oh, LSU's got a bunch of guys leaving. Wisconsin's won with a significant amount of turnover. And I think that is going to play pretty significantly coming up in this ReliaQuest Bowl.
Last one for you, Bill. Your time very much appreciated. If there's a blueprint for Wisconsin to get it done on Monday against LSU, how does that look?
It's going to sound crazy. You're going to have to score enough points, right? Like, I mean, you're going to have to score with. But I do believe that seeing some of the leaders from this Wisconsin defense playing some of their last games, I mentioned Mubajang Meta, Jake Chaney in there in the middle, and Hunter Waller, number 24, is a name that you're going to want to watch out for and have an eye on. You'll see him a bunch. Box safety, comes down and plays extremely physical. They got to take the football away, and they have not been extremely opportunistic in the last 6 games or so. But in their wins, especially against Nebraska, they got a key turnover. Preston Zachman in the back end, number 14, was the one that came up with that one. And taking the football away has been a big part of their recipe. They don't turn it over a whole bunch, but they got to win the turnover battle because it is one of those games where one of these teams is 7-5 and is very excited to be in a New Year's Day bowl. Yeah. The other side, I know that there's some disappointment on the LSU side, and that's for good reason. This is a championship program going up against a program that wants to be there. They are fighting at maybe a little bit of a weight class, so they know it's going to be a dogfight. They got to get some breaks to go their way. That's
a familiar refrain with bowl games these days. One of the first questions you have to ask yourself, okay, who wants to be there and who doesn't when you look at it. Bill Schmid, 97.3 The Game up in Milwaukee, part of the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, as well as on Twitter at Bill Schmid Radio. Bill, we appreciate the time so far throughout this bowl prep season and for the information today. Thank you.
Absolutely, Matt. Happy New Year to you and the listeners, and thanks for having me on. Hopefully we do it in 24. Absolutely.
Happy New Year. That is Bill Schmid. We're going to grab a break here on the other side of it, and we'll come back and flip the conversation back to the Saints. It's been a really tough couple of months for Mickey Loomis when he's had a microphone put in his face. And, well, the latest installment of that is coming up after the break. It's AFR. Stay here.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by River Cities 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. If your heater isn't keeping up, funny noises, funny smells, call our friends at River Cities 1 Hour Air. They're always on time or you don't pay a dime. They'll get the job done right the first time. I love reading these 5-star Google reviews. This one came in from Cassandra B., who said, Cody Smith, the technician, has serviced our home before, and each time he was personable, professional, and courteous. He's knowledgeable of his profession. I have no complaints with any of the 1 Hour employees. They do excellent work. It's River Cities 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with a giant clock on the side. You will always be thrilled with the level of customer service that they provide and the technicians that come into your home. And, of course, they save you time and money. Mention the Moscona Special. They'll always save you $30 off your system repair at River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Let me remind you about Traction, TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com, Traction, where champions are made. You want your son or daughter to reach their absolute best in whatever sport it is they play, Traction can help. You know, I've told you about Traction over the years, going into Traction and seeing professional athletes from so many different sports who maybe played collegiately in Louisiana and they come back to train, or even athletes who didn't play collegiately here, but by virtue of their travels throughout the country in different places have met people or have found out about Traction. They'll come train here in the off season. They'll even come rehab injuries. Told you there was a really cool picture Traction over the summer where there was an NFL player for the Packers and a young football player from here in the Baton Rouge area. They took a picture side by side at Traction Physical Therapy because they were both rehabbing the same injury, both there at the same facility. It's Traction. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com to learn more right there on Burbank. Traction, where champions are made.
Back here on a Thursday edition of AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Musso sitting in for Moscona. So, Saints' struggles have been well chronicled. This season, last season, even to an extent, 2021. Before that, they enjoyed the greatest era in the history of their franchise. And it changed expectations a lot. I don't have to tell you that. You know it. What you've seen, though, is with this current era and a lot of losing, missing the playoffs, times aren't as fun to answer questions, and the questions are getting harder. Even though, I should say the questions are getting harder to answer. The questions themselves really aren't changing. And a lot of those, because people want change, a lot of those questions have been directed at Saints GM Mickey Loomis. And on multiple occasions now, the answers given by Mickey Loomis have not been satisfactory to many. And we can go back to the question about the booze in the Superdome, about Saints season ticket holders selling their tickets and the Lions fans taking over the lower bowl of the dome. And, Mickey Loomis giving an answer about, I understand that I don't have to like it, and cited high ticket prices and the economy for the reason why, not the poor performance of the team. That was not well received. There was, when he was asked about buy-in from the team and if they'd quit, and he called that lazy journalism, that was not well received. And the latest installment comes in reference to the quarterback position in New Orleans, where obviously, look, it's been a struggle. And Derek Carr has not met the expectations that come with a $150 million contract. And because of that, I don't want to say totally because of that, in part because of that, the Saints team has not met expectation. So, when Mickey Loomis was on with Mike Hoss and Bobby Aber, he was flat, point blank asked, do you draft a quarterback?
You're asking me to speculate about the future, and we're in the middle of a season. I'm not going to do that. That's a silly what if exercise. So I'm not even going to go down that path.
Started out really well. I mean, I can understand middle of the season type thing. You haven't even been eliminated from playoff contention. The part that begins to have that not be well received is when you call it a silly exercise and a silly question, because it's not, and that you're not even going to go down that path. Well, you better. I'm not saying you have to draft a quarterback. I'm not saying they're not even considering it. I'm saying to scoff at that notion right now is irresponsible, in my opinion. Because it's a question that's absolutely warranted, and it's a question that's not new. You're going to get asked about that all the time. And when you do, there's always been pretty much a by-the-book answer that the Saints have given. I'm not sitting here telling you that I wanted Mickey Loomis to divulge draft strategy and what they're going to do, because he's never going to do that, and nor should he, and that's not what I'm after. But to call it silly, well, that's silly. This question goes back to when Drew Brees' career is wrapping up. Are you going to draft a quarterback here? Is it time to find the heir apparent, the next in line to replace Drew Brees? Are you going to do that during the draft? And the answer, by the way, no matter when it was asked, midseason, owners' meetings, pre-draft, post-draft, when you still have the, that when they meet after the first round and you still have the rest of it, no matter when that question was asked then, it was kind of always met with the same answer. Well, yeah, we hope Drew plays as long as he can, and we don't have to go down that road. But everything's under consideration when you go through a process like this. That's satisfactory. But it's also easier to give that answer when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl champion, and you're in the midst of a stretch where you have the best winning percentage in the last 5 years in the NFL, and you don't have that right now. But again, to say that it's a silly what-if exercise, it's not a what-if exercise. It is something that needs to be addressed if you're the New Orleans Saints. Because since Drew Brees, and I'm not sitting here saying that's an easy thing to do, replace the greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise and one of the best quarterbacks that's ever played the game. But unstable doesn't even describe your quarterback situation since Drew left and retired. You thought you had the unlock with Jameis Winston, and look, it looked good early on in that year in 2021 where you're 5-2, he gets injured, and since then, you haven't been close to finding an answer. You went through 4 quarterbacks that year. You know, okay, thought maybe Taysom? No. Trevor Siemian? No. You go get Andy Dalton to be Jameis Winston's backup. Winston gets hurt. I don't need to rehash the entire history. Well, Dalton clearly wasn't going to be the answer, and they wouldn't go back to Jameis Winston last season. You go free agent, you get Derek Carr, veteran, 10th year in the league, $150 million contract. That hasn't worked out. And the sample size is big enough throughout his whole career for you to know that it's probably not going to work out. What you've done in trying to replace Drew Brees is do it through free agency because you want to hold on to what the Saints were. I'm not the first person to tell you that. That has been a conversation that has been had plenty since Sean Payton retired and then subsequently unretired and went and coached the Denver Broncos. The one thing you haven't done is try to draft your future in the first round. And it's something the Saints haven't done in their history. One time, we know it. It's Archie Manning. But you've gone the free agent route now in a couple different off seasons, and it hasn't worked. Maybe it's time to do the thing that you haven't done. And that's why it's not a silly what if. It's not a silly question. It's a warranted question. Because you have to have elite quarterback play to go somewhere in this league. And you don't have it. And quite honestly, you haven't had it even going back to the last few years of Drew Brees. But you could get by with a great defense and skilled position players around. Now all those people are aging. I get it. It's hard to let go. It's really hard to let go. And Mickey Loomis has been with the Saints a long time. He's been a member of that front office since 2000. Has been the GM since 2002. He has seen the lows. He has seen literally the highest point of the franchise and helped build that and orchestrate it. But it's probably time to take a different angle at doing that. And again, that's why people aren't going to receive that well when you scoff at the notion, even though it's mid-season, and call it a silly exercise, that a path you're not even going to go down. Because that path, you kind of need to go down it. We'll see if they do. Until that, the questions are only going to persist. And there's not really a great time for them ever. But there can be a great answer. Even if it is just, look, we're in the middle of the season. Everything's being evaluated. That's a process we constantly go through. We'll continue in our process and make our decision. Because expectations have changed. And that's a good thing. But it is hard to let go. Sometimes you're forced to. We'll see if that time is coming for the New Orleans Saints. All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. It's Thursday, so here comes another week of football in the NFL. Paulie and I will give you what we're watching. Clinching scenarios abound in the NFL in Week 17. You have quarterbacks being benched. No shortage of storylines in the National Football League. Paulie and I will tell you which ones we're keeping our eye on the most when we come back. Mike Triplett still to come, talk Saints-Bucks in the next hour. We got Otter Locks to wrap the show. Plenty to do still here on this Thursday. It's After Further Review presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Stick around.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You know where to find them on Twitter at Get Gordon, on Facebook at Get Gordon, on Instagram at Get Gordon, on TikTok at Get Gordon, or you can always go to getgordon.com. That's getgordon.com. As we head toward the new year, I remind you all the time, if you've been in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for more than 30 years. Get Gordon and get it done. No matter where you are in Louisiana, you can give him a buzz at 888-8888, 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com. Yo, don't go it alone. It's just not worth it. You can try to handle things yourself, but honestly, it's just not worth it. Let Gordon and his team get what you deserve from the insurance company if you've been injured. Go to getgordon.com. That's getgordon.com. And, of course, I always encourage you to visit gordongives.com so you can see the many ways that Gordon and his team are giving back to our state in so many ways. It's Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. 888-8888 or go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Step inside an Infiniti QX50, and you'll find a suite of driver-focused features tailored to your tastes. But most of all, you'll find luxury that lets you feel infinitely you. Visit your local Infiniti retailer today.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Mold Zero, now Pure Restoration. Same patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. If you got mold, think you might have mold, not sure if you have mold, mold can be in your walls, you don't even know about it. Pure Restoration comes in. You don't have to worry about moving furniture, pulling up carpet, any of that sort of stuff. They come in, they'll spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. Your home, office building, commercial building, whatever it may be, they're going to be more efficient than traditional remediation. It's going to cost you less as well. I love telling this story. There was an elderly woman who's a homeowner, had black mold on her ceiling, and she couldn't get a quote from anywhere that was less than $28,000. This was an elderly widow. Mold Zero came in, got rid of the mold for less than $5,000. Mold Zero is now Pure Restoration. Same company, same great patented non-toxic dry fog. They're general contractors, so they can do demolition and build back when you need it. They can take care of odor, sanitization. It's Pure Restoration. Pure-restoration.com. Pure-restoration.com.
Back here on After Further Review, Musso's filling in now for Moscona. Bit of breaking news involving Ryan Ramczyk, who, of course, we went through the injury report earlier. He was on it again with the knee, did not practice. NOLA.com, and Times-Picayune down there, Matthew Paris has a report out right now, 4:26, so about 10 minutes ago, that Ramczyk, quote, probably needs off-season knee surgery, but he's awaiting some clarity. Of course, look, he's missed the last 2 games. Told you about that with Landon Young filling in. So that's not the be-all, end-all for this week, but potentially where it's heading. Ramczyk's quoted in this article kind of, talking about the knee injury, and it's reached a spot where he hasn't been able to perform the way he needed to when he's been out there. And, there's a chance the issue starts to feel better. Doesn't really know long-term. And it's him saying today that it, quote, probably needs off-season surgery, but doesn't know for sure yet. So, look, we'll keep you up to date on that. Again, doesn't give you any exact clarity for his status this weekend against the Buccaneers, other than he's talking about potential surgery Thursday before a game, even though that surgery's in the offseason. I guess you can kind of read into it a little bit there and say, okay, maybe he isn't out there, but we'll see how it's going. But we always like to keep you updated on the latest that comes across, and that's that. Ryan Ramczyk met with the media earlier today. This report coming from NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, that he probably, quote, probably needs off-season knee surgery, but is awaiting clarity. All right. Let's get into it. Paulie and I are going to tell you what we're looking forward to, what we're watching this NFL weekend. Hit it, Casey.
Here's what we're watching this football weekend.
Paulie, you want to start?
Sure thing. So I'm going to be watching the game on Saturday. That'll be the Lions and the Cowboys. So we mentioned it yesterday. The Lions have been a pretty fun team to watch this year.
Yes.
They clinched their first division title in, over 30 years, something like that?
30 years, 1993.
Okay, 30. So Dallas is coming off the loss against the Dolphins. So this game obviously will impact the NFC playoff standings. Dallas needs a win to keep their hopes of winning their division alive, and both teams are still in a fight for potentially landing the number 1 seed in the NFC.
And speaking of that number 1 seed in the NFC, you could see it decided this weekend. And that's one thing I want to keep an eye on. So you have the 3-way tie right now, right? The 49ers, the Eagles, and as Paulie mentioned, the Dolphins. They all sit, not the Dolphins, the Lions. They all sit at 11-4. Niners holding the tiebreaker over both, with the Eagles holding the tiebreaker over the Lions based off of strength of victory, which just sounds like something straight out of the college football playoff selection committee room. Anyway, the way it can be decided this weekend is San Francisco. So the Niners can clinch the number 1 seed and the lone first-round bye, home field advantage with a win and losses by both Philly and Detroit. You heard Detroit. They have to go on the road and face Dallas. When you look at the Eagles this week, a little bit more of an easier one. They are at home against the Cardinals and are a double-digit favorite. So we'll see, but it is possible. A Niners win, by the way, they're playing the Commanders. An Eagles loss, along with a Lions loss, gives San Francisco the number 1 seed.
I'll be watching the battle for the AFC South. So we got 3 teams still in the running. They got the Jags, the Colts, and the Texans all at 8-7. So CJ Stroud cleared concussion protocol. It looks like he will start this weekend. Trevor Lawrence did not practice today after his injury to the Bucs, so it's still iffy on him. And then obviously you got Gardner Minshew in Indianapolis. The Jaguars look like they're going to run away with this division early in the season. So can they hang on? They do have a great opportunity because they do play the Panthers this weekend. The Colts will play the Raiders, and the Texans play the Titans. The Jags have the easiest schedule moving forward, so can they take hold of that division?
They need that easiest schedule going forward, but they also did just get destroyed by the Buccaneers, which I would imagine is part of that easiest schedule going forward. Yeah, what a faceplant by the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. I didn't see it coming. I was very high on them early in the year, and I was wrong. More clinching scenarios, and this one comes in. If it's not going to be Lions-Cowboys as game of the week, it just might be Ravens-Dolphins, and both teams with something on the line. Let's start with Miami. Miami can clinch the AFC East with a win or a tie against Baltimore. Now, that's direct to that game. There is a scenario where if Buffalo loses or ties, the Dolphins can also clinch the AFC East. But win and a tie versus the Ravens, and that gives it to them. On the Baltimore side, Baltimore with a win or a tie against Miami can clinch the AFC North, or a Cleveland loss or tie, but a win. Of the utmost importance, if Baltimore beats the Miami Dolphins, they will clinch the AFC's number 1 seed and the lone first-round bye. So let's see which team gets their clinch. A win clinches something for each. For the Dolphins, it's the AFC East. For the Ravens, it would be the AFC North and the AFC's number 1 overall seed.
Let's forget about the playoffs for a second. Could we have a shakeup for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? So there's still a mystery at the top. We're pretty much watching the Panthers and the Cardinals to basically see who's going to be the worst team in the NFL. The Cardinals could easily lose their next 2 games. They play the Eagles and the Seahawks, so they could finish 3-14. Could the Panthers actually slip up and actually win one of their final 2 games? Their pick does go to the Bears because of their draft day trade last year. The Patriots also only have 4 wins. Commanders only have 4 wins. And also, with the Panthers pick, will the Bears draft a quarterback or will they stick with Justin Fields? So there's still a lot of questions to be answered in terms of draft order over the next 2 weeks.
That is always one of the more fascinating things to watch towards the end of the season is does a team screw up tanking and end up winning a game? Actually win a game and potentially screw themselves out of a generational talent at the number 1 pick, normally at quarterback. To your point about the Bears and Justin Fields, can you really pass on Caleb Williams at this point? I mean,
you could argue both ways.
I guess you could.
You trade that pick and just load up with talent.
Yeah. I mean, look, it got them because of the draft day trade with Carolina. It got them back in this very situation. So yeah, I guess I can see both ways. All right, let's see. My last one, number 3, Chargers and Broncos. Yes, these teams both stink. But obviously the intrigue was created with Russell Wilson being benched yesterday, and just it very clearly looks like Denver is going to move on from him. How does that parlay onto the field? Because Denver, while albeit a very slim chance, they have not officially been eliminated from playoff contention. And a 5-10 Chargers team coming in where they fired their head coach already, that seemed like a spot where you could win and keep those hopes alive, potentially going into Week 18. But instead, they have benched their quarterback in hopes of getting rid of him. So the dynamic of that in the locker room as well, how does that play out? That has added a level of intrigue that normally wouldn't be there between a 5-7 and 7-8 team. But it is, and something that I want to keep an eye on when the Chargers meet the Broncos at Mile High this Sunday afternoon. Is that all of them, Paul? Did you get 3? I hit 3, you hit 3? All right, then that's our what to watch for this week as we head into Week 17 of the NFL. No shortage of storylines. There's never a dull moment with the National Football League. That's why we watch it so much, and it stomps the NBA into the ground on Christmas Day like we talked about earlier in the show, because it's just always interesting. Even their offseason stomps other things into the ground. All right. We're going to grab a break. come back on the other side. This is after further review. We got Tigers and the Pros to close out hour number 2 in its normal spot. And then a jam-packed hour number 3 here on a Thursday. Mike Triplett in his normal spot. We have Otterlocks. And at the top of next hour, kind of want to switch back to LSU and explore what they do with offensive coordinator in the interim. We know it's going to be Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton as the co-offensive coordinators. But what exactly might that look like on game day? LSU's been pretty quiet about that. Tell you, kind of go through their options. I'll tell you what I think they should do, and we'll examine the LSU offense from that point of view as they get set to take on Wisconsin. That's coming up to start the next hour of the show. Right now, we'll grab a break and come back on the other side with Tigers in the Pros. Musso in for Moscona. It's a Thursday edition of AFR. Stick around.
AFR.
Glow Resources, complete employer solutions. Go to glowresources.com. That's GLO, glowresources.com. If you are a business owner, and as we head toward 2024, if 2024 is the year you're going to get out of the hiring rat race, you're going to stop throwing darts blindfolded. You're going to stop guessing and hoping you get it right. You're going to stop wasting so many resources tinkering and trying different things, and you're going to get it right the first time, then you need to call Glow Resources. Listen, Glow Resources, they don't work for the employee. They work for you, their client, the business owner, the employer. They're there to find you complete employer solutions. If you need skilled blue-collar labor, yes, Glow Resources can help. They have a white-collar division as well. So if you need, accounting services, if you need management, they can do everything from interviews to hiring, the entire process. It's Glow Resources. Visit them online at glowresources.com. GLO, glowresources.com.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
His name was King. He had a home.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2 of After Further Review on a Thursday. Let's do it. Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
We start in the NBA from last night. The Rockets on the second half of a back-to-back. Tari Eason, 25 minutes off the bench for Houston. Slow scoring night for our guy. Only the 6 points. Came off 2 of 6 shooting. Did make 1 3-pointer. Only 3 rebounds, but he did have active hands. 5 steals in the ball game last night for Tari Eason. It was the Suns over the Rockets, however. The Brooklyn Nets on the second half of a back-to-back. Slow scoring night for Cam Thomas. Who said that? That's a rare occurrence. Only 8 points for Cam. Did shoot 4 of 9. 12 minutes in a starting role, so kind of saw his minutes cut down too. Did log 1 steal. We have an injury update on his teammate in Brooklyn. Oh my goodness. And see, this is why having televisions in here can be distracting. There's a giant toaster on the field at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, or at least there was pregame, and a dressed-up mascot Pop-Tart popped out, like slowly rose out of it. That was incredible. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is going to be a blast. All right, back to the injury update on Ben Simmons. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer, not the television screens. He talked about frustration regarding his back injury. He has been out of action for the Nets since November 6th and finally went on record about it, calling it, quote, one of the most frustrating points in his career. Not every game is promised. Injury has happened. He says he will do what he can to be back on the floor. When that might be, you have a little bit of clarity on that now, too, although not much. But the Brooklyn Nets did finally come out earlier this week with a bit of an update saying that Ben will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. That puts a potential return date for him in January of 2024. NBA G League action from last night. The Delaware Bluecoats, that's where you find Javonte Smart, and he turned in a really solid performance. Shot 64% from the floor in the game last night. 31 minutes, 23 points for Javonte. Finished stuff in the stat sheet with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Did end up in a little bit of foul trouble, though, with the 5 personals. 60% from behind the arc. We will wrap up Tigers in the Pros with some news from the Diamond. Bryce Collins has signed a free agent contract with the Chicago White Sox. Collins, it was a decision that he had to make. Of course, did have 1 more year of eligibility. What a journey through college that young man had. Highly, highly touted out of high school. Ends up at Arizona. Gets injured. Ends up missing a whole year. Then COVID. Comes back. Transfers over when Jay Johnson takes the job at LSU. Pitches for 2 seasons with the Tigers. Was a key cog in the bullpen in 2022. Found some struggles this past year, but contributed nonetheless to LSU's 7th national championship, and now will decide to move on. He had announced his decision to move on earlier in the offseason, but has now found a landing spot, I should say. That is with the Chicago White Sox. The 12th player from LSU's 2023 national championship team to join an MLB club. Bryce Collins, best of luck in the next chapter in his career in Major League Baseball with the Chicago White Sox organization. That's Tigers in the Pros. It's brought to you every day by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry and the Gift in the Little Red Box, the only place you should ever go when looking for diamonds. Yes, Christmas is now in the rearview mirror, but birthdays, anniversaries, those happen all year long, as do proposals. And if you're thinking of popping the question, you should go nowhere else than Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry and tell them you heard it right here, Tigers in the Pros. When you do so, Gift in the Little Red Box, engagement ring, Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right. Coming up on the end here of hour number 2, as Kansas State just missed a touchdown. First of 2 ranked matchups on the evening, I should say, underway. This is the Pop-Tarts Bowl, where they have giant toasters and dressed up mascots of Pop-Tarts and edible Pop-Tarts on the trophy, and it just promises to be a blast. It was the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in the first game, the second game, technically today, but the one that just wrapped up. They defeated Miami. I believe I'm getting the final score here, but I believe it was 31-24 in that one in the earlier matchup. Yes, 31-24. So how about Greg Schiano, man? That guy, he just fits at Rutgers. I mean, this isn't, the team they had ranked number 2 in the country, but you're not gonna find too many guys that just can win at the clip that he can at Rutgers. 7-6. Boy, they feel really good about that. When you look at Miami, who fell to 7-6, they feel a little bit different. Boston College 23-14 earlier final over SMU in the Fenway Bowl, and then Miami Rutgers was the Pinstripe Bowl. So we're done with games being played on baseball fields. Now you have the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Kansas State and NC State underway. We'll keep you updated on that. Outer Locks still to come as well. Right now, we got to grab our top of the hour break. Come back on the other side. How does LSU use the co-offensive coordinators in the ReliaQuest Bowl? That's next on AFR.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. Call 924-2020, 924-2020, or go to williamsoneye.com. That's williamsoneye.com. Been reminding you, we are really cutting it close now. But if you do want to get in before the end of the year and get that refractive procedure done, maybe you have SFA funds that don't roll over. Use it or lose it. They're going to expire at the end of the year. You got a week to go, and they could probably get you in next week. Might be a challenge, but it's worth a shot. WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com, or call 924-2020. That's 924-2020. Dr. Blake Williamson and the gang just do awesome work. They're wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and certainly happy holidays to everybody in the whole listening area. And as we move into 2024, if you're thinking about ditching contacts and glasses forever, the Williamson Eye Center can help. Call 924-2020, 924-2020, or go to williamsoneye.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour number 3, after further review on a Thursday, off and running. Musso in for Moscona, Casey Gaines, and Paul O'Neill along for the ride here today. Glad you are as well. One more hour to go, and happy you're driving home with us. Or even if you're not driving home, just happy you're tuning in wherever you are. Maybe you're taking in some bowl game action with Pop-Tarts Bowl on here or here in studio. Kansas State just took a 7-0 lead there, so we're going to talk ReliaQuest Bowl here momentarily. Mike Triplett, New Orleans.football, will join the show in the next segment, Mike's weekly spot. Get a conversation going, man. Saints, Bucs this Sunday in Tampa. NFC South on the line. Tampa can clinch it with a win. Saints need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. If you look at New Orleans, the whole scenario for them, we talked a lot about it yesterday and what the outcome will mean for the history of the franchise, or I should say what the outcome could mean for the history of the franchise. But if you look at New Orleans, first and foremost, they have to win their last 2 games, and they no longer control their own destiny. So beat Tampa, beat Atlanta, and then hope that Tampa loses in Week 18 to Carolina. That's the Saints' path to the NFC South title, and really their only path at this point into the playoffs. So do not control their own destiny anymore, and they're back firmly planted against the wall this Sunday against Tampa over there in the Sunshine State. We'll talk about it with Mike Triplett in the next segment. Otter Locks, of course, will close the show, and we'll get your preview of Thursday Night Football, of course, before we get out of here for the day as well. All right. So yesterday and today, when talking about the ReliaQuest Bowl and LSU and Wisconsin matching off, it's been a lot of where's the intrigue? Because there is intrigue in this game. Yesterday we talked about who's in, who's out, opt-outs, opt-ins, which team's going to have who, kind of comparing the rosters and how that looked matchup-wise looking at the game. Today, we let off the show talking about expectations for Garrett Nussmeier, fair expectation for Garrett Nussmeier, and what this game can actually mean for his future and the role at LSU, his future role, I should say, at LSU. That's in the open of today's show. If you missed it, you can catch it on demand. I'm sure it'll be up on the 104.5 Watch ESPN, YouTube, and the AFR channel and all of that. We talked with Bill Schmid, got a preview of Wisconsin earlier in today's show, and talked about the intrigue of this game from Wisconsin's side, and also how the Badgers match up and blueprint for the win and all that. The other big storyline in this game that adds a level of intrigue is the offensive coordinator position at LSU. Because, as you all know by now, Mike Denbrock, who orchestrated, outside of 2019, the second best offense we've ever seen at LSU, the number one offense in the country in 2023 that produced the Heisman Trophy winner, and looks like will produce a top 10 pick at quarterback and wide receiver, is off to Notre Dame for the third time in his career, and he will be the offensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish. That leaves LSU with the interim role right now split between Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton. And while plenty of the intrigue is going to be who's next at LSU, and we can get into that a little bit, the immediacy is how does that function in the bowl game? And the first question that everybody's going to ask is who's going to call plays? And that should be the first question that you ask. And the answer to that is, well, we don't officially know. LSU has been pretty quiet about that. I don't think it really needs to be that big of a secret, but they've chosen to take that route. I'm willing to bet that tomorrow when Brian Kelly meets with the media in the joint coaches press conference, somebody's going to ask him, hey, BK, who's calling plays, Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton? And he'll be able to answer that if he wants to. He'll be able to sidestep the question if he wants to. He'll be able to give us as much information as he pleases. I can tell you what I think LSU should do there. And for me, it's not really a hard choice. While Cortez Hankton is a fantastic coach and has a bright future on the offensive side of the ball as a coach and probably maybe a coordinator one day, he's never been an offensive coordinator. Joe Sloan has. Only one of them has been in that role. In fact, Joe Sloan has been a co-offensive coordinator before as well. Prior to the 2019 season, when he was at La Tech, he was promoted to co-offensive coordinator there and then offensive coordinator after that, and then was the interim head coach after Skip Holtz was let go. That just makes a little too much sense, doesn't it? Now, again, I don't know what they're going to do. They haven't announced that. I'm not telling you anything. That I'm simply saying what I would do. And there's a couple different reasons. Number one being what we just talked about. He's been in that role before. And if you're really serious about getting to 10 wins, you want somebody who's been in that role before taking on that part of the game. The other part is Garrett Nussmeier. And Garrett Nussmeier going into his first start, it would make sense, at least in my eyes, to have the quarterback's coach, who's in an interim role offensively or co-interim role offensive coordinator, be able to call the plays because he knows that player very, very well. And you don't have to take my word, and there's a level of trust, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can take Garrett Nussmeier's. Casey, this is number 7. When Garrett Nussmeier met with the media prior to this bowl game, he talked about his relationship with Joe Sloan and spoke incredibly highly of the
It's been really good for me. Coach Sloan has really, really helped me become a better player and a better person. And getting to work with him one-on-one every day it's definitely helped my career a lot. And I think that was part of the reason why I came back was Coach Sloan and the relationship we have and the ability that I believe he has to coach me.
That is a glowing endorsement. I mean, we've all heard the sound bites and everyone talk about the role that Coach Sloan played in the development of Jaden Daniels and ultimately getting to this Heisman Trophy winning season. Garrett Nussmeier just said he's probably the reason I came back is because of the confidence I have in his ability to coach me as a player. That trust, that confidence level between the two is reason number one, even far and away more than him having been in the role at a previous stop before, reason that I'd pick him. And I think that's ultimately the direction that they go. Either way, someone's getting the keys to a Ferrari on New Year's Day to call plays for. Yeah, you don't have Daniels. It's the best player in college football. That does matter. But Malik Neighbors is playing. at least till he breaks that record. We'll see how long Malik's out there. I hope he's out there for the whole game. Brian Thomas is playing. Kyron Lacey's playing. Whole offensive line's playing. Logan Diggs is going to play. Like, you got everybody. So, not that it's easy, but whether it's Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton getting to call plays, they're, at least with the personnel they're going to have out there, they're starting ahead of the chains, it feels like. But for me, Sloan. And then there's this part of it too. And Brian Kelly was asked this, and I'm sure he'll be asked again tomorrow, about those two as candidates for this position long term. In the same way that, this is, I don't want to say audition with Garrett Nussmeier, but in the same way, this is an opportunity for him to take that next step in his role potentially at LSU. It's the same thing for a guy like Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton. Because Joe Sloan is going to be an offensive coordinator in college football again at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's going to happen. And it could be at LSU. So this is an opportunity for him and for Cortez Hankton to prove their worth there. And again, for lack of a better term, audition ultimately for that job. And when Brian Kelly was asked about that, he didn't shy away from it. And he mentioned and pointed to the fact that you had the number one offense. And even when he talked about Mike Denbrock earlier this year when he was up for the Broyles Award and all that, Mike gets a bunch of the credit, but they have a great staff. And if you could potentially promote from within with that staff, and you have someone who's been a coordinator before already, you have someone who's and is still an up-and-comer, you have another guy who is an up-and-comer who's still looking for that first opportunity, and you have both of them in a position to show what they can do in that spot in a big game scenario. There's no substitute for experience, and you're going to get to see both of them up close and personal in that. So that too adds the level of intrigue and two great options. So look, I think ultimately they'll go with Sloan to call the plays and do all of that just because of the familiarity with the quarterback and the role itself. But they've been mum on it, and we'll see. But it's a great opportunity for both of those guys, and definitely adds a level of intrigue not only into this game, but it could potentially add a level of intrigue, massive intrigue into the search for LSU's next offensive coordinator. All right, we're gonna grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side, flip it back to the NFL, flip it back to the New Orleans Saints as they get set to travel and face the Buccaneers. Mike Triplett of NewOrleans.football joins the show in his weekly spot. That's next on a Thursday edition of AFR.
AFR.
Man, it's always a great time to get by Rouse's. If it's just that grab-and-go dinner option, maybe you need to run in and get a few grocery items. Maybe you're doing your weekend shopping for the entire week. No matter what it is you need, Rouse's can help. Maybe you're just stockpiling for that holiday party. You're having people over to your house. We have the Erica's family Christmas party, the Keller Christmas party. We host it every year at our house. And all of Erica's extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everything like that, all come over. And we love to host, and it's great. And Rouse's is great because they have great holiday party trays as well. So if you need the cheese trays or the fruit trays or the veggie trays or the sandwich trays, the drumettes, the mix and match, you do it all. It's there at Rouse's for you. Easy to grab and go or make your own. Give them a call before your holiday party, and all the spirits as well. You want great beer and wine and all of the spirits, they got it over at Rouse's. Remember, buy 4, save more. You buy 4 bottles of wine or more. The more you buy, the more you save. Allows you to try some really interesting wines. It's at Rouse's. This feels like home.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust. the bank that cares about you.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's a luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Mike! Yeah?
Saints coverage with some Mad Libs mixed in.
Why don't you just go by Mike?
It's time to talk black and gold with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football, presented by Benny's Car Wash, family owned and operated since 1951.
Back here on a Thursday edition of AFR. It is that time of the week. We talk with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football. Mike, we appreciate the time as always. Happy New Year. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Mike, Saints and Bucs. And you know what? Actually, I think the last time the Saints matched up against the Bucs, I was also filling in for Matt that Thursday, and we previewed that game, and we're all hoping that this one goes a little bit better than that one did. But let's run it back nonetheless. Playoffs, I guess we can kind of start there with that being on the line for the Saints. There's a bunch of places we could start, but they have to keep winning. It's slim. I get it. But give me some hope. What is out there to believe that, okay, the Saints can go and keep their playoff hopes alive this week?
Well, look, we may be having a different conversation a week from now. If they go into Tampa and beat the Bucs, it would be their most impressive win of the season. And then we'd start being like, well, if they can beat Atlanta and Tampa Bay can lose to Carolina, you never know. It would at least be a slightly more optimistic view than we have of this team right now. I mean, the loss to the Rams wasn't just a loss that hurt their playoff seeding. I mean, it was a loss that made them look like they're not a playoff team. You know, it was a harsh slap back down to reality, I think, after that 2-game win streak that they went against a good opponent, a hot opponent, and just looked totally outclassed. So the only way to reverse that is to go beat another team that's on a 4-game win streak on the road that's leading your division right now, and have your most impressive win of the season. Otherwise it will officially be putting them out of their misery.
So let's talk about how they can potentially go about doing that. I look at this, and one giant matchup sticks out to me because it won't be there, and that's Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. We talk about it every single time with this game. We are being cheated. I'm sure Mike Evans might probably cheap shot somebody still. It just might not be number 23 in black and gold. But who guards him? Because he has the potential this year to set a career high in touchdowns. He's been having a great year with Baker Mayfield throwing him the football. Who slides into that spot for Lattimore?
Well, look, Paulson Adebo has arguably been the MVP of the Saints. He did not play his best, just like the rest of the team, against the Rams, but he's been excellent, and I kind of like to see him in this matchup. But he's not Marshawn Lattimore, and the Saints are a lot better if you get both those guys on the field. And then, the matchup that scares me even more is Chris Godwin lines up in the slot a lot, and I think whoever is in the slot, Mike Evans lines up in the slot sometimes. I think Tampa Bay is going to attack that because we just saw Alontae Taylor struggle to the point where he got benched, and he's going to be starting again in this game, but they're going to test him and test the resolve there. So, it's not having Lattimore, and it's the domino effect of not having Lattimore that's going to make this a really tough matchup for them.
What have you made in the safety spot there? Without Marcus May, but Jordan Howden has stepped in quite nicely a couple times. He was back at practice today, which is a welcome sign. But, of course, Lonnie Johnson wasn't. So your numbers are thin, but at least you have Howden maybe there at the back end?
Yeah, he's going to be back. He was just missing with illness for one practice, but he was back.
Did we lose Mike? Mike, are you there?
No, I'm sorry. I said he was back on the practice field, and he looks good to go. I mean, obviously you still don't have Marcus May, but you should have Matthew and Howden. But it's definitely thinner with no Marcus May, no Lonnie Johnson the last couple weeks, no Marshawn Lattimore, and they look like a thinner secondary in this last game.
So, and again, they'll go up against Baker Mayfield, who looks like he might be on his way to a contract there in Tampa Bay. Flip it over to the offensive side. Man, the slow starts have been a thing for the Saints defensively and offensively this year, and I mean everyone's got their opinion of why. What's yours?
I haven't formulated a real opinion on it. It's weird to me. It's weird to me on defense especially because, whether you want to say it's coaching not getting them riled up, you have emotional leaders like Demario Davis who gives that pregame speech. I don't feel like there's a lack of passion, and then when they go and they play great in the second half and they always fight back and stop the offenses from scoring like Detroit, and they give themselves a chance to win. They've got the skills. I have no idea why it's always a slow start. You have to blame coaching, you have to blame game planning or the scripted first 15 plays, not knowing what they're going to get from another team before they get used to it. They settle in and they adjust well. But, I think anything that we pick apart in this season, whether it's the run game, whether it's the red zone offense, whether it's slow starts, I think it's all a part of a bigger problem with is it's just not as good of a team. They fail in a lot of these areas because they're not good enough to be consistently great from start to finish. And very, very few. The Giants game 2 weeks ago was the only time I thought we saw 60 minutes of good ball from all three units. I don't think we've seen that any other time this season.
It's been a struggle offensively in general for the Saints, but definitely against the Buccaneers. And when I was looking at it earlier, since Drew Brees retired, in the 5 games since then, New Orleans is averaging 16 points against Tampa Bay per game. Now, obviously, look, the Buccaneers' defense is very good, and they're getting healthy now, and they just put on a show against the Jaguars. It's even a little grimmer in the last 3. They're averaging 11. Is there a way? Do you see a way that this offense can kind of snap that streak? It was granted Derek Carr was coming off that shoulder injury the last time these two teams met, but they had 3 points at halftime, 6 points before. There's 3 field goals, Mike.
You remember that was the game where Tampa Bay, they're still running the Tampa 2 defense better than anyone else all these years later. But I think that's been a real problem for the Saints. That was the game where they took away the deep threats so much that Derek Carr completed 13 passes to Alvin Kamara for 33 yards. It's impossible. It's impossible. But Antoine Winfield was playing out of his mind. Levante David and Devin White remain maybe the best linebacker duo in the league. And, it's a defense that causes some matchups problems for this team. Now, obviously, I expect better than that. I think that was probably their worst offensive performance in the entire season, if I'm not forgetting one. The Saints like to find ways to get the ball to their playmakers like Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, and I think they become really, really non-lethal when they're not able to hit those shots.
One more, I should have mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the injuries. Ryan Ramczyk today, when he met with the media, mentioned the potential for off-season surgery. Look, I don't want to totally speculate, but that doesn't sound too good for his status on Sunday, especially after he's missed the last 2 weeks. But just kind of a thought on the injury that he's been going through, and especially at the stage of his career now, and the potential for surgery for your franchise right tackle.
No, I'm posting a story on it. Did a deeper dive. He was really open. I talked to him for a long time today, and they haven't ruled out the idea of him playing this season. I really don't think he's going to play Sunday. They didn't officially rule that out yet, but I highly doubt it. But what he's been dealing with for the last few years now is basically a bone-on-bone issue because of a cartilage defect, and they haven't had surgery in it for a few years. They've come up with a strengthening and pain management and rest program, and it was working for a while until it wasn't. And this season's been a fight, and he's going to go back to the drawing board this offseason. He probably will have a surgery. He doesn't know that for sure, but he's going to talk to doctors, surgeons, and be like, what can we do? Reminds me of Teron Armstead, who traveled the globe finding answers for his injury problems and actually found some answers doing that. But, he said he wants to keep playing, but it's gotten worse over time instead of better. It's not going to get better. It's how can they manage it so that he can keep playing. But it's really unfortunate because he's one of the core players of this entire team.
All right, let's shift back to the game here. Mike Triplett, our guest, on Twitter, at Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football. You should get subscribed up for sure. You can find that story that he just mentioned there that he has dropped in on Ryan Ramczyk. We began this talking about the postseason potentially for the Saints. They have to win out and hope that Tampa Bay loses to Carolina. If the Saints don't win on Sunday, is that the final straw for Dennis Allen in New Orleans?
I really don't think it is from every indication I've gotten. I think this team recognizes that it has major issues and that it can't just run it back next year. But I don't think they think, the axe automatically falls on Dennis Allen for that. I don't know if they'll feel that way if they watch him lose the last 3 games, if the other 2 games are as ugly as the Rams game was. I feel like one win might make it, secure, no question. I would have guessed. I've been under the assumption that, 9-8 is safe. Losing record, miss the playoffs, lose this division. I would have thought not safe. But my gut is, chances are he's going to stay, barring something so ugly that they just can't ignore it.
Okay, well, you said that they understand that they can't just roll on. They can't just run it back, right? So what? And I don't want to get too into the weeds with the future of the franchise and everything, but they're hanging on by a thread here for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Next, if they lose, when you come on this show next week and talk to Matt, there's going to be a lot of questions about the future of the franchise. So what might it look like? What might change this come? Is it players? Is it?
I obviously think the offense has to change, and that'll probably mean, major changes to the coaching staff on offense, or major philosophical changes, or both. I think personnel could change, but I guess what I mean is, without knowing their final decisions, or if they've even made their final decisions, because they've still got 2 weeks to finally decide exactly what those changes are going to be. I think there was a strong sense last year that injuries had knocked them off, the shuffling quarterbacks had knocked them off, And if they were a little bit healthier and they got their answer at quarterback, that they really liked their roster and they felt like they were still on a good track. This year, I don't think that we're going to hear that same rhetoric. I don't think they're going to hear, it's just a couple other things have gone our way. We really think that, this team is in the right direction. I think they recognize, all right, so, a lot of things need to be improved. A lot of things need to change. A lot of areas they need to get younger. So I don't know how easy it will be to make those changes, but I do think they recognize the need for those changes without question. They're not the everything is fine here meme in the middle of the fire.
Yeah. Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football on Twitter at Mike Triplett is with us every Thursday here on AFR. Giving us a preview there, Saints-Bucs in Tampa this weekend, as well as what could come as fallout from that game, win or lose for the Saints. Mike, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the football on Sunday and wish you a happy new year.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always.
Absolutely. Mike Triplett, again, of NewOrleans.football. It is very interesting to hear him say that he doesn't think this would be the final nail in Dennis Allen's coffin. And that's I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but the Saints organization, the one thing that they have a reputation for extreme loyalty. And you could argue that that's part of the reason they're in this spot that they're in right now. It kind of goes back into the conversation we were having last hour where it's hard to let go. I get it. But sometimes you have to. And if it's not Dennis Allen, there will be changes. It kind of goes into the conversation we had surrounding LSU's defense this year, right? And Matt House and his job status. Whereas, okay, maybe it's not going to be him, but it's going to be somebody. Because you can't just go with the status quo. It's the same thing with the New Orleans Saints. All right, if it's not Dennis Allen, it's got to be somebody. Somebody has to be held accountable because you built the expectation in the franchise. And again, that's a good thing. You want that. But you're not meeting them. You're not even close to meeting what you built them up to be. When for 5 years you had won the most games in the NFL. And you were regularly a contender in the NFC. You're not even close to meeting those. So something's going to have to change. And the result on Sunday is going to be a big part in leading into that. Potentially. Like you heard Mike say, they know that changes have to be made. Is it Pete Carmichael? Is it personnel? Is it a little bit of both? We'll find out. But it's been very, very disappointing. Very disappointing to go through what is going to be a likely another losing season where you don't win the division and you miss the playoffs. And they'll be faced with tough decisions, loyalty be damned, down there in Metairie at the facility. So we'll see. It's just because you'll have a very different, one way or the other, you're going to have a very different feeling going into the 2024 season. Whereas the last 2 years, they've kind of felt similar because of something that Mike said. Like, you had the optimism, obviously, going into Allen's first year. Okay, look, has he learned from his mistakes with the Raiders? Under Peyton, you still have so much of the core there. The defense, you've been winning with that. You can keep that in place. And you saw how that went. And there were injuries, though, that fogged a lot of that on both sides of the ball, specifically at the quarterback position. You come into this, you're able to build that optimism kind of back up. The defense is still there intact. They were pretty good last year. Mike Thomas, he's coming back again now. What can you get out of him potentially? Can he be that number 3? You got Olave in his second year there. You get Derek Carr, so you have a quarterback that they're all familiar with. And just right out of the gate, it was struggles offensively, then the slow starts on defense. You're not going to be able to build that optimism back up. It'll be a very different tune, and it'll be accompanied by changes of some sort this offseason in New Orleans. But for now, they'll go to Tampa. They'll try to beat the Buccaneers and keep their playoff hopes alive, and we will move on and take a break. But before we do that, we're going to let Matt remind you about today's title sponsor on a Thursday, AFR. That is the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana.
We're brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com, theantiagingclinics.com. You want to look and feel like your younger self, they can help at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. You know, I would often say a simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. But so often that blood test is so much more than just that. For example, maybe they'll find elevated cholesterol levels or something else that could be an indicator of a bigger problem. Not to say that happens often, but if it does, like, you want to find those things so you can be properly treated. And sometimes medical grade supplements are a great way to do that. For me, fish oils, Coritin, some other medical grade supplements are great for me as I had some naturally elevated cholesterol levels that we've helped get in check. Maybe it's hormone replacement therapy, help you feel like your younger self again. Learn more online at theantiagingclinics.com.
All right, and that ends the Saints portion of today's show. Because I just can't really talk about it anymore. It's not a fun topic. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We still got Auto Blocks to come to close the show. Thursday Night Football tonight. Get you a brief preview on that and a brief preview. The Pelicans, they're taking on the Jazz, looking to end a 3-game home losing streak. They're interesting, but kind of for the wrong reason right now. We'll touch on all those things briefly when we return on a Thursday edition of AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, and Bluebonnet. Dine in or carry out 28 flavors of award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold draft beer, full-service bar, sports on TV. My goodness, there's something going on at Pluckers every night of the week. What more could you possibly want? How about sandwiches? Well, they've got those. What about salads? Pluckers actually has really underrated salads. Giant, gorgeous, fresh salads. You can actually eat healthy at Pluckers. Or you could just binge. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings tossed in your favorite sauce. You want to create your own menu item? Do it. They encourage the creativity. Great sides as well, like the cheese fries, the El Guapo dip, maybe the homemade blue cheese potato chips, holy macaroni, fried pickles. They got it all at Pluckers. Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. The best place to watch the game, which game? Any game, is at Pluckers, because you can eat wings, drink beer, and watch sports on TV. Remember, at Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Thank you, Acadiana, for over 56 years of allowing Corbell Toyota in Opelousas to take care of you and your automotive needs. Enjoy this holiday season with family and friends. From the Corbell Toyota family to yours, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
AFR is brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com, with more than 30 offices across 11 different states. You're never far from a Michelli location. The great news about Michelli is not only are they nearby, but you can always ship your precision measurement devices to Michelli, or they can come get them from you. Like, that's also true. Why pack up your devices, ship them to a calibration lab in Chicago? Something that could take days with Michelli could take weeks with another company. Call them, they'll come by, pick up your devices, bring it back to the calibration lab, calibrate it, return it to you in a matter of days. It's about making you more efficient. It's about doing business face-to-face. I love telling the story. Joel McMullen and his son Sean played baseball at LSU, came up to go to an LSU baseball with us, game with us last year. They stopped from Harahan between Baton Rouge, all of their different clients, just for a little FaceTime. That's how it's done. It's how it's been done for more than 70 years. Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Michelli.com.
All right. Coming towards the end of the show here. A brief preview on Thursday Night Football, because there's a little bit of intrigue in this one between the Browns and the Jets. Obviously, look, the Browns, with their outside chance to still win the AFC North, they seem to be surging towards the playoffs with Joe Flacco, which, I mean, has been a great story since he's kind of taken over there, been signed off his couch, done nothing but win, and has the Browns at 10-5. And I don't really even know if I want to say revived his career. I mean, he's 38 years old. I don't really know if this is going to, parlay into a deal somewhere for Joe Flacco. Maybe he could potentially stay on as a backup in Cleveland, but it's been a great story, and it's going to continue into the playoffs, really, despite what happens tonight against the Jets. But the other level of intrigue to this is Joe Flacco revenge game, right? I mean, Joe Flacco is so recently a New York Jet that his picture on ESPN.com is still him in a Jets uniform. They chose to not re-sign him. Obviously, going into the offseason, you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. That makes sense. But even when Aaron Rodgers goes down with the Achilles, they still don't go back and get Joe Flacco. He's shown this year that maybe that was the route instead of Zach Wilson and then Tim Boyle. And tonight, it's going to be Trevor Siemian for the New York Jets. Flacco's going to have a chip on his shoulder tonight in this game a little bit. And I'm actually kind of intrigued to see that. Browns are a 7.5-point favorite in the ball game, the Joe Flacco revenge game. And we will ultimately see how they get that, how and if they can get that done. Look, granted, when Flacco was in New York with the Jets, it wasn't great, but I digress. Man's got a chip on his shoulder. So we'll see how that goes. We'll get a pick from Otter coming up here momentarily in Otter Lock. So 1-1 night for Otter last night. We hit with Oklahoma State as they won and covered against Texas A&M. We lost with Louisville, who ended the season with 3 straight losses, man. One to Kentucky, Florida State, and then last night at the hands of USC in the in the Holiday Bowl. So get a pick from Otter on Thursday Night Football. And, of course, on the bowl action as well. We have the Alamo Bowl later tonight. Ranked-on-ranked matchup in that one. Oklahoma and I totally blanked. Oklahoma and Arizona in that one. And Kansas State just took a 14-0 lead over NC State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Before we get to Otter Locks, I do want to switch gears here, though, and give a brief thought on the Pelicans. They're at home tonight versus the Jazz. Pellies are 7-14, and it's just a much different vibe around them right now than it was literally on this date last year. December 28th, 2022, the Pelicans were leading the Western Conference. They were number one in the West at that point. Zion was 360 dunking on people at the end of games, en route to an All-Star game bid for him. And it looked like they were really going to take that next step. We know how that season ended up. But to start this season, it's been a little bit more of the same. At 17-14 right now, the Pels currently sit in the 7th spot. I know playoffs are a long way off, but just for comparison's sake, with them being literally number one in the West on this date last year to now being 7th, that's the reason I bring that up. They've lost 3 straight games at home. But the problem, this is 3 of 4 and 3 straight at home, I should say. The problem is when you look at this team, it's hard to know what to make of them because they still have all those pieces that had them at number one in the West at this point last year. But for some reason, they have not been able to finish games. The fourth quarter has been a house of horrors for the New Orleans Pelicans lately. I mentioned those 3 straight home losses. They're by a combined 5 points. And you just lost in overtime 116-115 to the Grizzlies after you had an 80-67 lead going into the fourth quarter. The team you're going to play tonight, the Utah Jazz, is not good. They have 13 wins on the year. 2 of them are against New Orleans. 1 of them resulted because of a furious rally in, you guessed it, the fourth quarter by the Utah Jazz. And then that was a game where they didn't have their 2 leading scorers. New Orleans has got to figure out a way how to finish games in a more consistent manner because they're getting to that point. This is a team that has played the Timberwolves, who are the current number 1 team in the West. You've already played them 3 times. You're 1-2, but 1 loss was by 1 point, and the victory, you almost beat them by 20. It was 121-107. So you've competed with the top of the Western Conference there. You just have to be able to do that a little bit more consistently. And right now, tonight is a big opportunity for them because after winning 4 after that loss to the Lakers in the play-in, you could see the writing on the wall there for New Orleans going into that stretch of the schedule. It lightened up a little bit for them after they played a pretty tough one to start. And it was a chance for you to make some hay. And they started doing that. They won their next 4 after losing that game to the Lakers. And then come the 2 close losses to the Grizzlies by a combined 3 points, a blowout win over the Cavs sandwiched in between with a 2-point loss to the Rockets. You were in a position to win all 3 of those games that you lost. And instead of looking at a potentially 8-game winning streak that you're on right now, you've lost 3 out of 4 and all 3 of those coming at home. And the schedule is about to take a turn back to difficult. This is one the Pelicans really need to get tonight against the Utah Jazz because then you have the Lakers and the Nets, which those are winnable games, both at home. But then it's at Minnesota, who, like we said, number 1 in the West. The Clippers are playing some of the best basketball. You have to go at the Kings, at Golden State, at Denver, and then two games at Dallas, which is all of those teams are in the all those teams right now are playoff teams in the Western Conference, and Denver, Dallas, and Denver and Minnesota are at the top of the Western Conference. So it's about to get difficult again for the Pelicans. You need to get this one tonight, snap that 3-game home losing streak, and get back in the win column, back 4 games over 500 with a win over the Utah Jazz, who that's a game you should win at home. But then again, you've lost both times you've played them already this season, albeit both very competitive matchups. We'll see if they can get it done. Confusing team the New Orleans Pelicans in search of consistency. Maybe they find some tonight. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. Close out a Thursday edition of AFR with Otter Locks. Jimmy joins us next. Stay here.
AFR.
Brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. Tell you every day. Every home listed by every company all in one place. You know where to find them. Agent225.com. Agent225.com. And Darren has joined LPT Realty, the fastest growing real estate company ever. Literally. In 1 year, LPT Realty has gone from 0 agents to 6,000 agents. Some of the most well-known real estate companies in the world, it took 7 to 10 years to build that type of volume. LPT Realty did it in 1 year. Why? Communication, marketing, the way that they market homes, their properties, your clients listing, the resources they provide you, and for you, the realtor, the agent, the way that they handle revenue share and distribution is unparalleled. Toy Hamilton over in Lafayette has joined Darren James's team and LPT Realty as well. You could be next. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Glide and twirl in a winter wonderland. Skating on the river is back. Ice skating at the Raising Cane's River Center Arena, December 18th through 31st. Visit RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com for scheduled times, dates, and to purchase tickets. Sponsored by Fox 44, NBC Local 33, Guarantee Media, and Acadian Ambulance.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
All right, back here, wrapping up hour number 3, wrapping up the show for a Thursday edition of AFR. Sorry, not linking up with Otter right now. He is at a function, but he's currently texting me pics live. one at a time right now from the Otter. All right, let's see what we got here. So these are going to be your Otter locks. Arizona tonight in the bowl game, Valero Alamo Bowl, against Oklahoma. Excuse me. Sorry. Again, looking down at the phone. All right. So he likes Arizona minus 2.5 tonight. Looking at that, and you can get 2 at DraftKings right now, minus $1.15. But the Wildcats in the Valero Alamo Bowl later this evening. Tomorrow, college football action. Tomorrow, first bowl game of the day, Kentucky and Clemson in that one, and Otters going with Clemson. Looking at it at DraftKings, that's minus 4.5, coming back $1.10 in that one. So Clemson in the early bowl game tomorrow, and then in the NFL, we're going to do a teaser here. So you have Cleveland minus 7.5 tonight. You're going to tease that 6 points, tease it a touchdown, obviously, and then hook it up with Dallas on Sunday. So those are your Otter locks here, obviously, on this Thursday. And, of course, live at lunch tomorrow with Ott and Hanny. They'll be at Rufino's. Y'all get by and see them. That'll be 11 to 1 in its normal spot. So Arizona minus 2.5. And by the way, you can hear that game, the Valero Alamo Bowl. We'll have that for you here on our airwaves tonight on 104.5 ESPN. So Arizona minus 2.5, Clemson minus the 4.5 tomorrow, and then a Cleveland Browns Dallas Cowboys teaser for your NFL weekend. All right, that's going to just about do it for us. We're getting out of here today. One more day in the week. I'll be in for Scone one more time, and then he'll be back next week from vacation. Thank you to Casey. Thank you to Paul O'Neill. And thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, remind you about Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank and vinyl siding. They do it all at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Not only do they do it better, but with better customer service as well. That's what you'll always hear from Brandon Holly and the gang. Hey, look, bottom line is, man, there are people that will, undercut price, beat you on price. And the reality is you get what you pay for in life. You want superior quality, products, service, that's what you get at Relief Windows. Like Brandon Holly and Relief Windows offer a wood window product that comes with a lifetime warranty. And oh, by the way, they never take $1 from you until they're done and you're thrilled with the work that they've done. That's Relief Windows. It's windows, doors, siding, but it's also experience, quality, and service. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Check them out online. Again, Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206